Hey everybody, it is Radley and welcome to the Angel Tarot Show. If you are watching this on YouTube, it's good to see you. If you are listening to this from the fabulous mindbodyspirit.fm, then it is so great to share the words with you that we are going to talk about today. Now, today we're going to be talking about an archangel that, to be honest with you, when I first started really working with angels, was one of those archangels that I didn't work with all that much. His name is Archangel Raziel. His name means the secrets of God. Now, why would I not work with Archangel Raziel that much? Well, he's a little esoteric. He's this archangel that is said to sit at the throne of God, writing down all the secrets, writing down everything that happens. And so he's this like archangel that if you are studying really, really deep divine magic kind of stuff, he helps you to understand that. And that wasn't something that I was actually really working in at that time. It was, I was more on a lighter path of angels, and I wasn't trying to go down the rabbit hole of all of this deep sort of esoteric divine magic kind of stuff. But let me tell you why you should keep listening or keep watching, and that is because he is super cool. And so a few years back, I started channeling archangels, and when I channeled Raziel, Raziel was probably the archangel that blew my socks off the most. And I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, but first let's get just a little bit of history, a little bit of understanding of Raziel. So again, his name means the secrets of God. If you're into crystals, he's labradorite, danburite, and carolite. I might have that one wrong, I don't know. His color is rainbow, so he comes in rainbow colors. As far as his appearance, I'll get to that in a minute, because he didn't show up quite the way I was expecting. And so I'm sort of deferring what I used to think about his appearance to the way he showed up in the channeling. So Raziel is sort of like the Merlin of the archangel realm. He is the archangel of the revelations of divine mysteries and creative ideas that are made into reality. So if we think about him as being like Merlin, and we think about him as being divine magic and creative ideas made reality, then we can start to think about Raziel from the standpoint of, wait a minute, here is a really powerful manifesting archangel. And if we're trying to like manifest something in particular in our lives, we want to do that from a place of the magic of source, then this is a dude we all need to know, right? So he's manifesting. Normally, when we think about manifesting, we think about Ariel. We're going to talk about Ariel next week, even so hold that thought. But he, as I said, he's so close to the throne of God, he overhears it all and writes it all down. He knows all the secrets of the universe and literally how the universe itself works. So if you're looking for like a mentor on those kinds of things, then he's a really good one. There's all kinds of lore around Raziel. He was said to write the book, the Sefer Raziel, which is the book of the angel Raziel, and that he gave the book to Adam to survive after the fall of the Garden of Eden. He gave the book to Noah to know how to build the ark. He gave the book to Solomon about how to create magic. Is that true? Probably not. We do have our hands on the Sefer Raziel, and while the author of the book is unknown, most scholars look at that book and go, no, it's probably someone wrote this in the Middle Ages and called it the book of Archangel Raziel. But it gives you a feel. I think sometimes stories like that turn into or become metaphors. They are metaphors for the truth behind the truth. And so the metaphor of the archangel that knows all the secrets of the universe. He is said to be able to help you to deepen your spiritual understanding of esoteric information. He's all big into sacred geometry, alchemy, and quantum physics. The latter I really love. I love quantum physics. He helps us with spiritual and psychic blocks and dream interpretations. So that one is a big one for me because I have crazy wild dreams. I don't know about you, but I do, and I have them a lot. And so I very often not very often, every night, part of my nightly prayers before I go to bed is to Archangel Raziel, tone it down. I mean, it's like, I don't mind the vivid dreams, but I don't want bad dreams. I don't want dreams that upset me. I don't want nightmares. I don't want any of that stuff. So I basically ask Raziel, it's like, okay, so I'm good with the dreams. I'm good with the whole, I need to understand something that's like, subconscious or whatever, but do it in a way that doesn't like scare the bejesus out of me or make it difficult. So, and I find that works. And then in the morning, it helps me to be able to interpret the dreams. He's said to be the archangel for metaphysical concepts like numerology and astrology, past life regressions, memories, and healing from past life trauma. And the Kabbalah says that he is the very embodiment of divine wisdom. So what I'm going to do now is explain to you the incredible channeling that I did with Raziel. And this was a couple of years back. And so whenever I sit down to do a channeling, or I know a channeling is coming, a couple of things will happen. It might be that I start to notice that the archangel's hanging around. It's like, oh, he's in my doorway. Oh, he's in my room. We're not talking yet, but he's here. He's in my office. And so it's literally this place that I shift into. And so when I tuned in to Raziel, the first thing that I got was wow. And the second thing I got was wise. And I had sat down to do the channeling, and instantly he was just basically sitting across my desk from me. And he was very serious. And my favorite emotion is awe, AWE. I love to be awed by something. And I was immediately in awe of Raziel, but I also felt like Raziel was sort of in awe of what he himself knows. I mean, one of the things he told me was that he was the librarian to the divine. And I asked him, because if you're into this kind of stuff, my first thought was like, oh, he means the Akashic Records. But he was like, no, not the Akashic Records. He said that would be the equivalent of being the librarian of just one section of a library. That he's the librarian of the whole library. And I need you to really understand that archangels have no egos. So there was literally no arrogance in that statement. It wasn't arrogant at all. In fact, he's as humbled by the knowledge that he watches over as anyone you would ever meet. And you would think, so I'm claircognizant. There's 4 kinds of clairs. We've probably talked about this before. Clairvoyance is to see, clairaudience is to hear, clairsentient is to feel, claircognizant is to know. So you would think with this kind of energy that my claircognizance of knowing would be vibrating, but it wasn't. It was clairsentience, which is that's not my gift. It's not where I normally go. But with him, it was like I could feel it. I could feel wisdom. I could feel the awe. I could feel humility, but also I could feel a sense of pure joy. In a human sense, I would say repressed joy, but he just smiles and says it's called controlled joy. And so I'm a big Star Trek person. I'm a big sci-fi person. And so I laughed and I was like, oh my God, Raziel is a Vulcan. And he laughed at that and said, hardly. He said that to know all he knows requires great control. And that he says that the divine is actually as much like a little kid as it is like a loving parent. It is both. There is a kid in the candy store aspect to source. And it is dazzling to look upon creation. And I'm sorry to keep saying it, but it's humbling and also a welling up of indescribable happiness to see it. If he let himself just feel it all, Raziel says, then he'd be bouncing off the walls like a kid in an inflatable ball pit. And he did say that occasionally from time to time, he lets himself do that just for fun and to get it out of his system. But mostly he maintains the control because that's the job. And it's also part of the wonderment of it all. Now, I have never heard of this in my life, but he says that he is a multiphasic representation of the divine. So I had to Google that. And what I got was that multiphasic is an adjective saying having, involving, or indicating several phases. The test is referred to as multiphasic because it measures several personality dimensions with the same set of items. And he said yes to that. He said several personality dimensions. Now, here's the rock and roll cray-cray aspect of this. And he says, Raziel says, there are multiple Raziels. It's not just him. There are multiple Raziels because he exists across dimensions. He's in our universe, but he's also in other universes. And they are one, but they are also many. They are aware of each other, and there are subtle differences between them because the universes they inhabit are different from one another. They perceive the mysteries of the multiverse. Now I'm using like a superhero term. They perceive the mysteries of the multiverse through different versions of senses. And this is how they come to understand the nature of the divine and how and why it exists. So I'm thinking in my mind, well, wow, I don't know how you do that. And he responds with, it is beyond your understanding in your current form, but those who study and wish to grasp more than the average person in your simulation, our universe, can go farther than you have. Now, by you, he means me, which I suppose I could get all human ego about that. But then he just smiles and quietly laughs again and said, it's not your purpose this lifetime to conquer quantum physics and understand the nature of the universe. He's referring to me, but you are basically a little ball of feisty faith this lifetime. You don't need that information. You don't even want it because it complicates what you're trying to do, and that is to make it easier for people to understand, not harder. And I laughed at all of that and said, so I'm feisty faith, is that what you said? And he grinned and said, yes, that's what I said. And so for me, I thought that was funny because, and I thought it was actually, I don't know about feisty, but maybe I think my husband would say feisty, yeah. But it's like, I'm quintuple Sagittarius. I'm made out of faith. And it's like, that's sort of the constant. That's a thing that I can't break free of. That's a thing of the unending faith that all of this makes sense, and all of it is meant to have a purpose. And no matter whether I can understand something or can't understand or something, and no matter whether something hurts or whether it is exhilarating, it's all still this place of faith. So if you want to tell me that I'm just a ball of feisty faith, then I can get that. So I asked him, so what is your purpose in interacting with those of us in this simulation? And he grinned at that and said, to help those who wish to understand it better to do so. You're not the only one who can make complicated things easier to grasp. And I'm like, well, yeah. He then went on to say, the part of what I do that you, Radley, would like the most is is consider me the bringer of awe. Think of it like an electrical outlet. If you stuck your finger in one, it would fry your nerves. It's too much. But I am like a transformer of that energy. I can allow you to touch the magic of the divine in a way that will awe you and give you hope and joy for the future of your soul. I can remind you of how you feel when you're not in this simulation. And simulation, just to be clear, he means incarnation. When we are incarnated in a body, it's a simulation. And so he says, you, Radley, are experiencing that right now. If your sister were here, she'd be teasing you to close your mouth because your chin is on the ground. And he was right. My chin was on the ground at that moment of the channeling. And so I closed my mouth and he laughed again. And I said, I feel like a kid. And he said, you are a kid. And I said, I know, but I mean, I feel a little small right now. And his response was, but you aren't. You've just forgotten a lot of what you know for the simulation, AKA incarnation. It will all come back to you when you exit it, and you will realize that no one is small in eyes of the divine. And so this is where I, as a Star Trek person, want to say computer and simulation. I tried that and it didn't work. I didn't suddenly go back to the other side where all the angels are, but oh well. So he said, once you exit it, you'll realize that no one is small in the eyes of the divine. And so that for me almost made me want to cry. And his response is, you're trying to stay in control, but not crying because you're in awe of what you're feeling. And he's like, welcome to my world. That's what my world is. Trying to stay in control by not crying because you're in so much awe of what you're feeling is like, that's my world. And so I said to him, I was like, so that's why you have to stay in control. And he said, yes, this is why I stay in control. But I also cry, or the angelic version of that, because I think it would be different, out of sheer awe and joy from time to time. And I was in awe. And I told you at the beginning of this that I love awe. That awe is like my favorite feeling. That's what I want to feel. And so I asked him, why can't I feel like this all the time? And he said, you can, but I don't think it would serve you long term, though it would certainly serve you long term to feel like this more often. Why don't you let me help you with that? And I was like humbled. I was like, oh my God, he's going to help me feel awe, which he's already doing anyway. And I said, now I feel humbled. And he said, welcome to my world. I'm being mentored by the divine. No amount of Archangel school prepares you for that. And so then I got curious because I was like, okay, so you're like this archangel of like archangels. I mean, it's like you're in multiphasic, you're in all these universes, all simultaneously. To me, it felt like a wagon wheel where the divine is the hub in the center, and all these rays that go out are all these versions of Raziel. And I asked him, I said, what do the other archangels think of you? And he said, well, that's a curious question. And then he looked away. And I think that he wasn't actually looking away like he was thinking. I think he was looking over my shoulder, because if you're watching this on YouTube, then you know that I have two angels paintings behind me. Well, one is Michael and one is Gabriel. And I felt like maybe it's like, okay, I've asked him, what do the other archangels think of you? And now he's turning away and he's looking at these paintings. And so he said, they have plenty to awe them in what they do. All of them are filled to the brim with the miracle of existence. But from time to time, they ask to hold my hand. They do it so that they can stick their fingers in the proverbial electrical socket. It gives them great joy. And I think that they are all in their own ways in awe of my assignment. But keep in mind, I could not do what I do alone. I am multiphasic. There are many of me. And there is also the version of me that you are talking to right now, which is in its own way distinct from the others. It is the version of me that any on earth who reach out to me will discover, because I am attuned to your version of the senses. So let's think about that. In other universes or other planets, doesn't it make sense that there would be other versions of senses? And so these archangels are, these Raziels are attuned to their particular universe or dimension that they're functioning for, the kind of senses that they have. And so I asked him kind of cheekily, some of my Brit friends would say, so would you mentor me? And he said, of course. And I said, but what of Uriel? Because if you know me, you know that Uriel is my favorite archangel. He claimed to me from the beginning. And so Raziel laughed, the biggest laughed. And he said, it is so sweet and charming that you would worry that the big gold guy would care if I mentored you. You didn't worry about Gabriel or Michael or Ariel when you said that. And I said back to Raziel, well, he sort of claimed me first. And Raziel's response was, well, you reached out to him first. You just didn't realize it. Besides, I would only be teaching you things he's been trying to get you to learn since you entered this simulation. He'd owe me, and I'd very much like that. And he laughed. But keep in mind, that's just Archangel humor. He wouldn't really owe Raziel anything. It doesn't work like that where they are. But my experience of archangels is that they have great senses of humor and they like to kid and joke. And but then he said, think about it. You love awe. I know that about you. It would do you a lot of good. So at this point of the channeling, I was so humbled and blown away that I couldn't do anything other than just nod. I was just like, okay. And Raziel said, I think this is enough of the electrical outlet for you today. You have my number. Call me. And then he smiled. And then he was gone. And I just basically sat with my face in my hands, with my jaw on the ground, because I did not anticipate this. I didn't see it coming. I never really tried to channel or even establish a strong connection to Raziel prior to this. And it took me a lot of time to process it. But he was right. I do have his number, and we all have his number, because archangels are available to us anytime we want to be in that space of working with them. They're just available. The thing that matters in working with Raziel or Michael or Jophiel or Raphael or any Uriel or any archangel is the energy and time that you put into it. If you put a ton of energy and time into it, then you're going to get awed. You are. You're going to experience awe. You're going to experience the magic and power and amazement of each archangel. But if you don't, then you won't. And so it's like people want these amazing, powerful experiences, and those amazing, powerful experiences really do happen. They do happen. But they don't happen if you aren't practicing. You know, it's sort of like saying that it's like, you know, if you want to go to the gym and you want to, you know, bench press 300 pounds, well, it's not going to happen if you don't practice. And so the deeply powerful, moving experiences with the angels happen because we commit and we get into it. And the problem too, though, is if you stop going to the gym, you stop being able to bench press all that weight. And if you stop working with the archangels or your guardian angels, then it all fades away. It mellows away. It's like we harden. We fall back into the illusion of this simulation, quote unquote, or incarnation. And when we do that, suddenly we don't have these experiences. We don't have this magic that we're looking for. So that's my experience with Raziel. I didn't tell you what he looks like. So Raziel is kind of Asian looking. He's very handsome. He looks like some guy who would be an Asian movie star. And but that's just how he appears to me. As you've heard me say before, if you've been listening to this podcast, then you know that archangels present themselves in the way in which we need them to present. So if you would like to start working with Raziel, I'm going to give you an affirmation to help you to get started. So say this to yourself: I am ready for more magic to appear in my life. I am open to learning all I can about how the divine works with the help of Archangel Raziel. So let me say that again. I'll let you get a pen. Okay, so here's the affirmation again. I am ready for more magic to appear in my life, period. I am open to learning all I can about how the divine works with the help of Archangel Raziel. Okay. So that is what I have to say about Raziel. I hope that you will check in if you are trying to manifest things. He's a great archangel for manifesting. If you want to work with another archangel that's really great for manifesting, check in with us next week, and we're going to be talking about Archangel Ariel. When I say we, I am going to have Reverend Jim Bridgham back on with me. He was on last week. You guys loved him. The comments were amazing. So he's going to come back and talk about his favorite archangel with me, which is Archangel Ariel, the Lioness of God, who is a female archangel that helps us to manifest things as well. So between Raziel and Ariel, you got some pretty solid power for being able to manifest your dreams. By the way, speaking of manifesting and speaking of talking to angels, I am currently teaching a class called Angel Numerology. Right now, you can go, if you still want to, and listen to the free masterclass that I did last week, which is a class that helps you to understand what exactly are angel numbers and how to get what your angel number is, and also how to interpret that. But I am teaching a new class, so you can find out about that at radleyvalentine.com/numbers. In the meantime, thanks so much for listening to the Angel Tarot Show. So good to see you guys on YouTube. So great to listen to your magical words on mindbodyspirit.fm, and I'll see you again next week.